What's up? Welcome to Parker Daniels Show. My name is Anthony Parker. I want to give a big shout out to my co-host, Kim Daniels. We are streaming live today. Now, y'all remember back in the days when I told y'all that we're not only going to just be talking about individuals who are totally blind, but we're going to touch on a wide array of topics or subjects or individuals who may be going through some type of other impairments. And today is no exception. This gentleman has gone through a wide array of misfortunes, shall I say, in his life, but he has turned those around and turned it into something positive, which is what we are all about today. And without further ado, I'd like to jump into the conversation and welcome my guest today. Go ahead and tell them what your name is.
Clinton Aiken.
Clinton, for the people who are watching and want to know, such as myself, just briefly go into some of the things that you have gone through during your life, because I read your bio and I see that you've gone through a lot of things, but you didn't even let that stop you. You continue to move forward, persevere, and become the man that you are today. So without further ado, go on and tell them about your life just briefly.
All right. First of all, my name is Clinton Lloyd Aiken. Born May 4th, 1984 in Plantation, Florida. I am 34 years old. I'm literally going to take you from me being a newborn to me the age of 34 right now. So, I was born on May 4th, 1984 in Plantation General Hospital. And the doctor who literally delivered me called me a miracle baby because I was born with a large heart, fluid in my lungs, a hernia, meningitis, and asthma. And I was in and out of the hospital for at least 5 to 6 months with my mother. My mother at the time, she was a single mother, but she did balance working as a school teacher and literally, dealing with me working as a school teacher and everything else. She balanced that quite good. And, from there, I actually, was in school with my mother as a school, and she was a school teacher where, I literally used to get in trouble all the time. And, at the age of 12, I did inherit diabetes from my mother and my father. My father, he is a diabetic. My mother was a diabetic. And everything. And at the age of my teenage years,
Well,
I started
well,
finding trouble.
before you go to that, let me ask you, how was it, as a baby up until you were 12? How was it, considering the fact that you had all those things that you were hindered with? Was it how was it hard for your mother to care for you, or considering the fact that you had a multiple amount of illnesses or what have you?
And because I was born with so many problems,
Hmm.
my mother, she literally catered to me, and I was just spoiled and got my way. So from me being a newborn to the age of 12, I was literally spoiled, got anything I wanted.
Well, that's going to set us up to what you're about to go into now, and we're going to find out why, considering the fact that you were an individual who got everything he wanted, quote unquote, spoiled, as you say. Did you turn out to be, let's say, a bad boy during your teenage years? So go ahead and move on.
Yeah, so my teenage years, that's when I began to find trouble. And it's like, for some strange reason, I got anything I wanted. But I literally started, like stealing out stores and stuff. And, when my mother found out, she literally tried to beat the badness out of me. You know, for the most part, it didn't work because she explained to me, she said, in order for someone to change, they gotta want to change. And honestly, I was um, stuck in my bad boy ways because of the environment I grew up in. I grew up in a in a neighborhood called Sunland down here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And it's like, man, didn't have a choice but to, either fight or, get beat up. So it's like, I chose to be a bad boy and not proud of it. But it's like when you don't have a choice but to literally fight or get beat up. Like most of the time you go choose to fight because you don't want to get beat up. And, from like the age of 13 to like 17, I was literally, bad boy or whatnot, getting in and out of trouble and everything. And then we ended up moving out of that neighborhood into another neighborhood. I met more friends, and they were getting in trouble. But some strange reason, I wasn't a follower. I always was a leader. But I got twisted up in the drama that they was in, and it's like my mother again. She tried to beat the badness out of me.
It didn't work, evidently. Huh?
It didn't work because it was still like I literally, when she used to tell me to go outside and get in, I used to go back to the same
Situation
and do the same thing because like I had stuff to do, but that was fun to me.
Right.
So it's like when I hit high sports.
So let me stop you right there. So in retrospect, what do you recommend, or what would you say to the youngsters that's coming up right now that want to be a hardhead like you were back in the days? Just briefly, give me a couple of sentences in terms of what advice would you give them. You said, because you say you had to fight for in the environment you were in. It's either fight or get teased or whatever. What do you recommend to them now?
To all of the youngsters out there who wants to portray the bad boy life, I'm gonna tell you like this: find a boys and girls club to get into. Respect your mother. Listen to what your mother says because your mother way older than you, and it's like when it comes to certain stuff, your mother will not tell you anything wrong because like she done been there, she done done that, and trouble is very easy to get into, but very hard to get out of. And once you get in trouble, trust me, trouble follows you for the rest of your life.
Okay, great advice. Great advice from Clint. So as you pursued your high school career, what sort of transpired in you becoming a man?
When I got into sports, I found a way to literally turn that passion that I had for getting into trouble into
Sports.
the passion for football. So, my 9th grade year I played JV, 10th grade year I played JV. It's like my 11th grade year, I didn't have the grades, but I ended up switching schools, going to another school. And it's like I ended up playing varsity after that school. My 12th grade year ended up switching back to another school. And it's like to my old school, and basically football wasn't in me anymore. Even though I was great in football, I was very talented in football. I played defensive tackle, but it's like football wasn't in me no more. And like I just wanted to roam the streets as a teenager, as a late teenager. My 18, 19-year-old, my 18 and 19. The ages of 18 and 19, I wanted to roam the streets because, growing up down here, seeing people do what they was doing, I wanted the material things that other people had, like the big necklaces,
Right.
cars,
So
everything else.
So in essence, you're stating that you were a leader instead of a follower. What would you say to those individuals who are listening and looking right now? They might say, well, it seems as though you are basically following the trends instead of, setting trends. Briefly, just what would you say to those individuals that believe the contrary?
Honestly, to those who, like, you have different trends that come out, try to be yourself. Because, like, trust me, trying to follow a trend, you're only going to end up hurting yourself because basically you get into whatever, you get into everything else that everyone else is getting into.
But I'm saying that I'm saying as far as them saying that that's what you were doing. What do but I heard earlier, or you did say that you were a follower. Is that correct?
I know I was not a follower. I always was a
You
leader.
were a leader, right?
It's like when I wanted what other people had, so I was a leader, and I went out there and got what other people had. Meaning basically, the people who I used to hang with, run with, we went out there and got what the other people had. So it's like
Like as far as like setting examples as a leader, what type of, and I don't want to be the dead horse, but because we're going to move on, what type of examples were you setting when you were actually going into the streets and doing what your mother told you not to do? What were you setting there? Because that's more.
Getting more and more into trouble, going to jail, hanging on the corner, shooting dice, running from the police, and it was all bad examples because, like, honestly, it was bad examples because,
Right,
like,
right.
something that basically a leader do not supposed to set. Leaders else never supposed to set bad examples, and I was setting all the bad examples.
Right. That's what I was trying. That's what I was trying to reiterate. So with that in mind, as you became older, as an adult, I see that you had basically had some other encounters. Do you want to speak on those as well? You see, your mother had passed away, which caused you to go into some depression. You want to talk about that?
As an adult, when I turned the age of 21, my mother ended up passing. And, right at the end of the day, went through a lot, and I was very depressed. I was mad at God because I felt like God took away the only woman who would love me for me and appreciate, and not even appreciate, just love me unconditionally. And it's like, I felt like he took her away too early. She was 53 years old. When my mother was 53, so it's like when she died, my heart got real bad, and honestly, kind of got the devil in me. And it's like I did a lot of bad things, and it's like one day I just looked in the mirror. I listened to Michael Jackson, "Man in the Mirror." It's like that song, it still make me cry to the day because only God knows when I looked in the mirror. I looked at a person who a lot of women love because of me. But when I looked deeply into that mirror, I saw a person who I literally did not like, who I hated, because I knew that my mother didn't raise me this way.
Right.
So it's like I asked God to literally change me, and throughout from the age of 21 to 28, I eventually gradually saw the change in me because I went back to my childhood thinking that my mother told about what my mother told me. She told me only way someone will change is they have to want
They have to
change.
change, exactly. And
I literally wanted that change.
that also brings up the I heard a R&B artist mention in his song too, was that you never miss a good thing until it's gone. So this is the reason why I say that is because when your mother was trying to tell you while you were a teenager what things not to do, and you wasn't really trying to take heed. But as you got older, which happens sometimes, you sort of retrospect, think about it, and say, "Man, I should have listened." But nevertheless, you made that change, and it was better late than never. So with that being said, at what point did you lose your sight?
I was actually at 28, and 2012, I ended up going blind. And basically, I was living in Orlando, Florida, and it's like I moved up there with my cousin, and when I moved up there, it's like me knowing that I was out there, woke up one morning and like drunk some Kool-Aid. I was too sweet, and I felt something pop inside of my right eye, then something pop inside of my left eye, and literally, I thought I needed glasses, but until I was standing out waiting on the bus, bus rolled right past me. And I literally walked up to the bus, and the bus driver asked me, "You didn't see this big 8?"
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So you're saying the diabetes was was the cause of you going totally blind in both eyes?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Hold on.
so ladies and gentlemen, again we're speaking with Clint, and he's giving us a story, his life story in terms of what transpired, what caused him to make the changes in which he's taken. And this is something that a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers should listen to and take heed. But it all has some significance, and people probably wonder what's the significance. Well, he made the change. He saw where he had gone wrong, and I look at it as better late than never. Unfortunately, he had to go through his bumps and bruises in order to get where he needed to be. But he learned from his mistakes, and he's here to share those stories or his life, and hopefully it could reach to each one of you or somebody. And that's why I feel that this story is important. So Clinton, you were talking about you had lost your sight due to the diabetes.
Yeah.
How did, briefly, just tell us, how did it change your life in terms of you moving around, because you no longer could do the things you could do as a bad boy? What kind of transpired then, if you may expound on it briefly?
Oh, okay. So when I lost my sight, I was depressed, very, 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 very depressed, and didn't want to come outside or nothing because I also not along with me losing my sight, lost my kidney, so I weighed a total of like 370 something pounds. So it's and half of that was water, so I was depressed or whatnot, and I ended up getting on dialysis. So I literally asked myself, I say, how am I going to do this? I'm blind and I'm on dialysis. And it's my mother, she was blind.
Really?
For 7 years. And it's from when me being in middle school, all through middle school and all through high school, my mother was blind for those 7 years. So I just told myself, if my mama could do it, I could do it, because my mother was someone who literally, believe it or not, she literally used to put me in the passenger side of a 1993 Ford Mustang, Boss 302, and literally, my mother used to drive the car. I used to tell her, go left, go right, stop, go faster, turn wide, turn narrow.
Right.
Police. So it's I looked at my mother, what she did when she was blind, and I just told myself, I said, you know what? You're going to be a very successful blind person. Ever since I told myself that, it's I just told myself, you're not going to let blindness beat you. And, throughout everything that I went through, the dialysis, 2 years on dialysis.
Right.
On dialysis in 2013, 2015, I ended up having a transplant. And it's when I had my transplant, I'm blind. So a lot of people thought that I was going to be right back on dialysis because I could not see.
Right.
So, even one of my nurses told me she thinks that I'm going to fail with my transplant because I can't see.
Well, what did it have to do with anything? Did you ask them? How did the two correlate in terms of what they were saying? Because she said that you were going to be back on dialysis because you were blind. Was that something that she just said, or some type of medical history that indicates that, or she was just saying that?
She was just saying that because literally she was asking how am I going to determine which medicine I'm taking.
Oh, okay. That's ignorance on her part, so to speak. Yeah.
Right. So she literally was telling me how am I going to determine which medicine am I taking, and it's when she told me that, I started crying because I told myself I came too far to literally go back on dialysis, and when I started crying, right then I told myself, some way, somehow, I'm gonna make it on with this transplant. And honestly, it's like, um, throughout surgery after surgery, I had my transplant February 7th,
Uh-huh.
2015. Then a week later, I had bowel obstruction, so they had to do another surgery in the same spot.
Mm.
And then it's like after that, like me struggling to literally get water, the water that was retained on my legs, off my legs and everything, and me having issues with my foot in Daytona when I went to the rehab center for the blind
Mm.
in Daytona Beach, Florida. I ended up hurting my foot not once but twice. The second time I ended up having my left pinky toe
Amputated, I saw that.
People at this rehab center literally called me and told me that they don't think that I'm gonna return. And like the one thing that I told them, I said, watch me and everything. I healed myself properly. And I came back, and when I came back, it's like everyone was so proud of me and everything. And that's when my mobility teacher, Miss Holly,
Mm.
Miss Holly Ryan told me that basically, she told me these words. She said, Clinton, people look up to you because of what you do. Because I literally found myself being a mentor and literally being a motivational person at that center and an inspirational person at that center. And one of the instructors, one of my favorite instructors, Mr. Peter Sorolo, he actually passed away. He told me, he nicknamed me Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Because he said, I never gave up. And he said, basically, I blow after blow, I never gave up. And he told me, basically, that my name is Rocky, I'm his champ, or whatnot. So, when all was said and done, I ended up leaving that center in August of 2017. And when I left that center, it's like, the people at that center, the instructors at that center, told me that basically I was the most inspirational and motivational person who came through that center because I never gave up on coming back to the center and learning what I had to learn and doing what I had to do.
And is that what you stress to any individual who may be going through what you've gone through? Because you've had a lot of situations that have occurred and you've overcame them. So just briefly, is that what you the advice that you give to individuals, anyone, to never give up?
Yeah. Honestly, my advice to a lot of people is to never give up on yourself. Always keep faith in God, and always keep your head up with whatever you go through. People with blindness, my advice to people with blindness is to live with a motto. My motto is, I got 99 problems, being blind ain't one.
I like that. Say that again.
Huh?
Say that again. I said I like that. What was that? Say it again.
It's my motto about blindness is I have 99 problems, being blind ain't one. Because if I worried about being blind, I wouldn't be where I am right now. Because literally, if I was to sit here and worry about me being blind, I still would be on dialysis. But it's been 3.5 years now, and I'm not back on dialysis. I still have my successful transplant. And every time I go see my surgeon, he tells me these words. He said, Mr. Aiken, I don't know how you do it, but you are totally blind. You are one of my best patients. You're totally blind, and you're not back on dialysis. I literally have patients who get a transplant in 1 month. They are right back on dialysis. But you don't have any sight, but you are totally blind. You're very independent. Because when I show up to my doctor's office, I show up by myself with my white cane. And I navigate myself around.
Right. Your independence.
Right. I'm very independent. And, he literally, asked one visit, he wanted me to bring all my medicine. So I could literally show him and all of the staff how I literally take my medicine. And I literally showed them I know how each and every one of my pills feel that I take.
Right.
So
Oh yeah.
I know how my program feel. I know how my rapamune feel. I know how my 40 feel. I know how my prednisone feel, and those are the 4 major pills that I have to take in order to keep my transplant a success. So I literally know how all of those pills feel. So it's like when I showed him that, he literally told me that I'm remarkable, and one day he's going to call me to talk to his other patients who are struggling with a lot of stuff, because I'm that much of an inspiration towards him. And
well, definitely, I find you an inspiration. That's why I wanted to get you on the show and whatnot, because just in briefing, just talking with you briefly, I was, impressed of the, especially by the things that you've gone through. You still maintain, and because a lot of people probably went through this, would probably had gone through this, and probably would have given up. But I mean, big ups to you in that aspect and what have you and whatnot. So in closing, because we could talk forever and a day. I mean, we might get you on here one more time again and talk to you about some more things, because there were some other things I want to mention, but without going on and what have you. What in closing, what do you have to say to the people and that could basically strengthen somebody that's going through the many challenges that you have gone through?
In closing, I have to literally tell someone, keep your head up, and honestly, get a great support system. Get some friends that's going to motivate you. Matter of fact, I'm going to literally throw these 2 groups out there to you, like visually impaired men and women. It's a group called Blind Bosses that I literally created for the men. It's a support group that literally supports. They bring support and motivation and basically inspiration to men. We literally inspire men to reach for stars. For the women, it's a group called Blind Divas. Ran by my sister. Her name is, and same thing happens over there.
Mm-hmm.
Women in the blind community actually look out for the women and literally, gives them motivation and inspiration to reach for the stars.
Well, we definitely gonna be talking to them Blind Bosses and Blind Divas. Blind Bosses again is a group that Clint created, and I'm also a part of that. And I met several individuals thus far, but definitely, I want to thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll be able to get the Divas to come on and talk about their stories. But like I said, in the future, we're going to get you back on there because there's some things I want to talk to you about. But in closing, I want to say to my people out there to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so that you can get updates and what have you, and special stories like the one Clint just told us about. So with that, I would like to say thanks again, Clint, for your time, and a big shout out again to my co-host. And my name is Anthony Parker. Boy, that was very interesting.
Low battery, 20% battery, low power mode, close, button. Finish, button.
Hold up.
Finish, alert. Are you sure you want to stop stream? Cancel, button, end, button.